Welcome guys, thanks for joining us. Today we're going to work on the cart again. We're going to get the front end cut off, and also make sure to stay tuned. We got a special guest that drops by. So with that, we'll get into the video. Yeah.
That's one of my buddies and I. We've got bike trips and you see like old bikers with the big beards. It looks like they live on their motorcycles.
Yeah.
And we say that right there, that guy's, he's road Bugala. That's just
Okay.
what we call it. Right? And then the shirt that I give you there, that's a guy that actually lives in Princeton, and he looks like a cartoon in real life. Like the picture on my shirt, that is my buddy Craig, and we always said Craig is the poster boy for road Bugala.
Okay, can I just say, you got a third person in the
Yeah,
back.
you got Izzy in the background.
Izzy's in the
Well,
back.
whatever, Izzy. Izzy's having a beer with us. Well, hang on here. I'll show you brought us some shirts today from the Road Bugala. Make sure to check out his YouTube page. Just search Road Bugala and it'll come up.
It's road Bugala builds.
Road Bugala Builds.
Yeah.
And he's down, he's checking out our plasma cutter. We did some plasma cutting today. You can see in the back, we've got the cart all torn apart. We're working on that. So it's just a nice spring day for us. So we thought we'd get together and have a quick talk. Okay guys, it's always a challenge to get the front end lined up when you cut it off. So the first thing we did is we blocked up the frame in the back, and the front end is sitting on the ground. So we've got 7.5 degrees on that. So that's going to set our front caster at that. Our front end is on the ground. The next thing we did is we took straight lines off of the rear tires and we brought them forward and we drew them on the concrete. So we did that on both sides. We dropped it over and we got the line on both sides, and there's about an 1/8 inch toe in on that, which is perfect. And then what we did is we took the center of those two lines and we marked it on our tube that we put in, and then we measured out the distance for our lower A-arm attachments, and we squared those off and drew them in. So now when we put the A-arm attachments on the concrete, that's going to be flush with the concrete, and it's going to give us 7.5 degrees caster since we have that jacked up. So we're going to tack this stuff together and see how the new hoop is looking on the front end. So that's how it's going to look, guys. We're just got to notch out those top tubes, probably shorten this just a little bit, maybe an inch, so we get a little better mesh up here. But it's going to drop in, and then we'll have a nice front end to work off and build the A-arms. We will have to close this off, put a tube in here, and add a parallel rail here for the second A-arm, or for the top A-arm. But we think we've got this loaded up pretty good. So we got the front lower A-arm supports in. We added this piece here to tie this up to here, and then we needed to come up with an upper A-arm support. It took a little while to get these made. We did get them in the first try though. We had to make two of them. We did a 45 here and a 45 here, and then we had to notch them to fit into this tube, come here and come over to here. And the key of this was we wanted the top A-arm mounts to be 2 inches wider than the bottom A-arm mounts. It just helps with the suspension geometry that we're using a little bit. So we had to get them offset and to get the notches in. So they're going to be dropped in right in here, and we get a nice parallel with the bottom, and we get that offset we're looking for. So we're going to get these tacked into place, and then we're ready to make A-arms. So we're cutting out another batch of parts for the Crosskart here, so we'll get them going for you. So that's our job there, guys. We'll take a look at these. These first parts are for the A-arm attachments. So we're going to put them up on the frame over here. So we're going to drop those bars in. And then these A-arm attachments will space these out perfect, and we'll get them put in, and we'll give us a perfect alignment on the front end. So the other part we cut is for this A-arm down here, and it's actually where the shock mount's going to end up. So we cut those out, and we're going to drop those on, and give us a nice flat area for a shock mount. So if we take a look at the edge of the parts, the way they're coming off the machine, so real nice. We're dialed in good on the plasma cutter. We're really happy with it. Well, we're back at the plasma cutter. I guess somebody can't count to 8. So it looks like we need 4 more of those tabs. Well guys, we're moving along with the rebuild on the front end on this, and it's coming along real nice. One of the things we were able to do when we put this top A-arm mount in, we were able to follow this tube that was already here, so we're really happy about that. We would have liked this up another 1/2 inch. It would have helped with our geometry a little bit, but in order to follow the line, we dropped it down. So where we got that from is, if we take a look here, from center of ball joint to center of ball joint on our spindle, we have 7 inches. And if we see the tie rod, that's pretty much just in the middle there on that. So it would have been great if these holes would have been 7 inches apart, but they're actually 6.5, so we could follow the line of this tube. So what we did then is to calculate the geometry. We've had this problem a couple times before. We want to follow this tie rod to be in the middle here of these two, just like it is in the middle here. So if we take a look from the front end, we want this geometry. You can see from these holes from here to here, this is going to sit about this height, and it's going to be directly in line. So if these are perfectly in line, we know that this spindle was made that way from the factory, because that Yamaha spindle. So that's going to alleviate all of our bumps here. It's going to work out perfect. So we think we don't even need to test it. We don't even need to put the A-arms on. We're just going to burn this weld in, and we're pretty confident it's going to work. So that's our next step, is to get the welding. We think we've got the geometry all worked out. When we set these in, we just used a piece of ready rod, that won't be there, but it helped make sure everything was in line. We did have the hind or one of the A-arms in here to keep our spacing properly, to make sure these were spaced. We put straight edges across to get both sides in line with each other. And the update on here is looking real good. If there was one thing we could change, we should have looked at it a little closer, but when we just arbitrarily put this angle in here, and you know, we probably should have followed this line right here. We maybe should have not bent it so much, but we didn't even think about it at the time. I doubt we're gonna change it now. We're too far into it. It wouldn't be that hard to take out, but we're probably just gonna leave those, even though it doesn't line up real good with this one. So we're gonna weld this stuff in. Permanent